Hi, I'm Rose. I don't know if you thought much about what the point of your life is. The point of mine, ever since I figured out we're in a rock slide, has been to keep the rock slide from squashing Jenny. Mind you, I'm no use if I'm like a red splat under a ton of rocks myself. So I've been crawling out from under. The way I see it, how most of the trouble in the world got started must have been a good-sized rock. Must have fell from a height onto some caveman. Smacked him bullseye in the bald spot. When he stood up, his brain had went haywire. He goes wandering back to the cave, and he sees his own little boy running out to him. Hauls off and slugs the kid, busts his jaw. Then he sees his little girl. Gets her behind a rock. Comes on to her like she was his wife. Them kids, they're soon screwed up living with this nutcake. So screwed up that when their day come, they turn around and done wrong to their own kids. And that is the whole history lesson on an awful lot of families. Just one after another, right on down, more sick in the head people, bringing up more sick in the head people, whole friggin' time the world's been going. It's like that first rock set off an avalanche that's been roaring down the mountain from then till now, gathering dirt. And my niece, Jenny, she was right in line for it, knowing her grandfather. Me and my sister, Sandra, we'd got it from that old man. Our father, he abused us physically and sexually, if you want to sound like a shrink. And now my sister, Sandra, she took up with a creep who put me in mind of Dad. And they went and had baby Jenny. I could feel the ground shake. Old Avalanche heading right for that baby girl. She's laying in her basket, learning how to smile, finding out that she's got toes. And I'm thinking, Christ almighty, what am I gonna do? What I want to tell you is how we got things fixed up. I like to think that reading this here will be somebody's first step. It was quite something. We were wrote up in the newspapers. Good news for a change. Human interest. Us losers from the abuse survival group that wound up doing so good. Bunch of Cinderellas getting like a free ride in a magic pumpkin to hear them tell it. They want to talk about our good luck. Never mention that we also worked our brains to the bone, as Dave would say. If you want to get out from under that rock slide, you might just as well know right now it's a ton of work. You can do it though. That's what I want to say to all of you is, if you yourself has been ran over by something like this, there's no need to lay there squashed flat all your life. What it makes me think of is a joke Dave tells. What would you call Batman and Robin if the rock slide had ran over them? Flatman and Ribbon. Anyways, first good decision I ever made was I joined this therapy group for people like myself who got abused as youngsters. Everybody always interrupts me when I get started telling this. What about the fortune teller? They're talking about the one member of our group, Josie, who seems to know everything ahead of time. What can I tell you? Josie's got the second sight. I don't claim to know how she does it. It gives me the goosebumps. I'll start off by giving some answers to questions about Josie that are asked frequent. Yes, she did see the lost gold that had fell in the lake. Yes, she knew that the lake was behind the white church in the town that we had to find. Yes, she's seen the house in the valley. Yes, she's seen the man at the door with the lucky ticket. The toy cow that come out in the trial too. And yeah, pretty well everything she seems to see comes true one way or another. Long as you're not too literal-minded like our group leader Meredith. Even Sally with the hardware man came true, sort of. They had a laugh out of that one. So now just sit tight and I'll tell you more about Josie as we go along. What got me started was I was back in the women's shelter. That time I was hiding from, I think it was, Daryl. The one who managed to bean me with the door of the broom closet. I'm walking by, and he reefs on it, deliberate. Cracks my head open. He was number I forget what. It was just what I'd done in them days. I'd take up with some jerk and get clobbered. Never meant for it to go that way, of course, but that'd be the way she went every frigging time. Pam at the shelter sits me down in her office. I always stare at this poster she's got on the wall. Wide river, dark gray cloud on our side, but over on the far shore, it's lit up in a patch of gold sparkle. My eyes get pulled into that poster. They'll see them stepping stones across the river. Something about them stepping stones. I can never quit staring at them. The way they lead off into that dark water and right across to the light. Wrote underneath the picture, it says, "Take the first step." "Rose," this Pam woman says to me, she says, "I strongly recommend that you join. It starts this coming Tuesday, and the leader's name is Meredith." I drag my eyes off that pinkish stepping stones leading into the gold sparkle. I start rubbing my thumbs together. My head's sore as fire, 9 stitches. Pam from the shelter, I can feel her looking at me. She's trying to get me to go to some therapy group. "All's they'll do is whine," I says, talking to my thumbs. I'm fidgeting around the chair, eh? What if I went to that group and they asked a lot of dopey questions, nosy questions? What if they found out? At that time, I used to think the civilized earth would end if anybody ever found that out about me, that I'd done it with my own dad. This Pam woman, she's going on about how it's free. It's a great opportunity. I am so fortunate. The Family Services Alliance is providing this free of charge. I can stay in as long as I need to. I don't care if they're offering to pay me. Would you like to talk about why this seems so frightening, Rose? What it seems useless. I picked a loser. He beamed me with the cupboard door. What is some shrink supposed to do about it? I was being defensive. I know the name now of every stupid thing that you can be. Back then, I never knew what the frig I was being. Pam at the shelter, she says, "The therapist will work with you to take a look at some events in your past." "Oh, that's over and done," I says. Which just shows you what I knew in them days. I thought I was being smart, acting practical, moving on. I says, "I can't do nothing about the past. I got here and now to think about. I missed a week's work. I gotta pay the rent. Asshole Daryl's took off." It's surprising how much of the past is not over and done until we have dealt with it. That's what Pam said. I said I had more important things to think about. Avoidance. That's the name of when you say you got no time to do whatever it is you know damn well you need to do. I never went to group that time. I never went the next time, neither after Gary, but I remembered what the woman at the shelter said about the past. The past don't go no place. Sits right where it is till you, like the garbage under the sink, ripening up until you deal with it. That was the year my sister had a baby. Jenny was born. I held baby Jenny, and I wanted the world fixed. I held her head so careful. Just the thoughts of somebody cracking that adorable head someday. That sweet smelling warm little head with blonde fuzz hair. Or worse, screwing with her. I thought about the jerk my sister was living with. I thought about old Dad there dropping by for visits. The baby so beautiful, eh? When I changed her, I cleaned the little flower folds between her wee legs, and that's when I started to hear the rock slide rumbling heavy up there, heading for that baby. And I'm thinking, no, nobody is going to mess with that darling little baby. Not while I'm still kicking. To do anything about it, though, it took me all the way to Donnie, who broke my dollhouse and my thumb. It's 3 years later. I'm back at the shelter, laying low till they catch Donnie. My sister Sandra's living with a different creep now. No different than her other creeps before, far as I can see. She's putting up with horse shit, just like I tend to do, and her mother always done, when she was living. Anyways, there I am. I'm back in Pam's same old office at the women's shelter. Nothing's changed. She's still got her poster up. I'm in the hot seat again. Jenny's 3 years old. World ain't fixed. I'm sitting there thinking about my little Jenny, and Pam's talking to me. Rose, I would strongly encourage you to join a therapy group this time. There happens to be a new group starting a week from this coming Tuesday. I don't know if this particular group would interest you, she says, and she looks me in the eye. It's for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I'm like hit by lightning. Pam knows. How does she know? Is it wrote all over me? Can anybody see it is looking at me? Am I walking around naked and I don't know it? I don't know where to look. I want to say, no, nothing like that. Would it be any interest to me? Why would I take an interest in anything as gross as child abuse? Nothing to do with me, no. Nothing came out. I just sat there. I couldn't rub my thumbs together because the left one was broke. Felt my eyes getting hauled into that poster. That river looked cold, fast, dark. But there was the stones to step on, and all the way to that other side, where the sun was shining. Solid-looking rocks, big enough for your feet. Take the first step, it says. I said, I'm worried about my little niece. I want to do something to help her so she don't ever get diddled with. I'm hoping Pam will just think I'm taking an interest for Jenny's sake. Sexually abused, do you mean? I give a nod. Do you suspect anyone of abusing her? Not yet, no, but I can see where it could happen. I want to help her. I want to teach her so she knows to look out for herself. That Pam woman told me. Said I had to help myself first. She talked to me about the oxygen masks on an airplane. In an emergency, you got to put your own mask on first. Make sure you're breathing first, and then help the next person. Well, that made some sense. You're no use to nobody if you're passed out with your tongue on the rug. You have to help yourself, Rose, before you can help anyone else. I was dying to get away and hide. I could have ran out and dove into the first compost bucket I come to, pulled the squash skins over me for shame. I'm staring at that poster. If I could just get away, get myself someplace else, like on the far side of the river, and take Jenny with me. Jenny, playing on that far shore, over in all that gold sparkle. I surprised myself. I said, okay. I said, sign me up, would you mind? Pam, she's been trained not to faint. She don't shout, well, it's about freaking time, or nothing.